this video we talk about death. You will learn what death is, what are misunderstandings in religions about death, and when you stay until the end, you will learn how you can go in your death later, not now. You can go in your death without suffering. Welcome to this video. What is death? Death is a transition from this life to whatever. Several religions say several things about it. For example, Christianity says you go into heaven or hell or whatever. Buddhism says that you are reborn and whatever comes, we don't know. But there is one thing which the religions all say is the same. They say kind of a next life. You can see it in Christianity, it's a life in heaven or in hell. Or in Buddhism, they talk about from a normal next life, like as another person. And so you can see in other religions this is similar, in Hinduism or whatever. So you can see death has something to do with a next life or so. And this next life is not always meant like a life here on earth. It could also be meant as a life in other dimensions. Before we go deeper into it, let's first define what I mean with dimensions. I don't mean dimensions outside of the universe. When you think about dimensions, you maybe think it is not here, it is in a different place, maybe in other galaxies or so. This is not what I mean. In other galaxies, maybe there is life too. This is not what I mean. I mean the dimensions, they are here at the same place where you sit. You sit here and you just know one dimension. This dimension where you can feel, touch the materia, smell it, taste it, eat it, see it, and hear it. The materia dimension, which is known or which can be discovered through our senses and our awareness. But as you know, for example, there are other dimensions already existing. They are measurable. For example, Wi-Fi, mobile phone connections, radio, microwaves, whatever. There are in this dimension where we live, in this world, are other things measurable in other ways, not directly with our senses. This means other dimensions, but there are also other dimensions at the same place too, which are not measurable, and there is not really evidence on it. And these are more the dimensions I mean when I say when you go in death and there is a changeover and you go into another dimension. This is like a switch, or like what they say, you lose your body dies, but something is still alive. Something has a part of a bigger life. People who meditate already know it. When you go into deep meditation, when you go deeper into meditation and you reach a very deep state, you can get another awareness. You feel kind of more, you can say. You feel that there is more than just this dimension. We are aware through our senses, and the deep levels of meditation and the state what you can reach is called higher consciousness. You know, consciousness is nothing you can just reach through meditation. Every human has a consciousness. Let's name it human consciousness. That's your normal awareness with your senses and your thoughts and emotions, whatever belongs to your soul or called psyche, we call human consciousness. Psychology, neuroscience, and other sciences also calls it human consciousness. That's all we can be aware in this dimension, in this world. And this consciousness, which is also called or known as ego consciousness, is belonging to our body, to our current life, and is, as you know, dying when you die. So human consciousness is limited. But you have the other consciousness too, the bigger one, which you can reach through meditation, higher consciousness. And higher consciousness is your higher self, is not your ego, is, and this is not an esoteric fact, but this is not what I want to say. I want to make it very clear with a basis and evidence on sciences, and also when you meditate, you know what I mean. There is something more than just the ego. There is kind of a higher self, and that's your true, actually self. And this higher self you have is what survives when you die. This is your undieable part of soul, which has lived before you lived here as an ego and human consciousness, and which will live in the future when you die, when your human consciousness, your ego, dies, when they say, scientists say, when there is brain death, then it is the evidence that the human is dead. And from this moment, ego is dead too. But your higher self that survives, you don't have to be frightened. It will live forever. Most people are frightened when they talk about death, or when someone talks about death. It is more or less not welcome in most cultures to talk about death, but I'd like to do it. I'd like to talk with you about death because it's a very important topic, because it's attached to everyone, because it's important for everyone, because everyone must die one day. That's normal. But what can you do now to reach your higher self and to get more control about your ego and not let control your ego most of the time and overwhelm the self and you don't see yourself? That's the point. Normally, when you are educated in a very normal way in most of our countries and your upbringing was normal, you are more or less educated to just be aware of your ego existence and not about your higher self. You just care for getting a good job, earning as much money as you can, having a good car, having a good partner, whatever. You are conditioned like that from society, from education, and you believe that's the only important thing. But you are still suffering because there are things which will happen to you in your life and you can't avoid. Very normal and simple things. And these simple things are to grow older, to become unhealthy, and to die. These are the main things you can't avoid in your life. Maybe if you have luck, you are not so unhealthy, just grow old and die. But normally these are the main or the basic sufferings of life. And in contrast to that, Buddha said to overcome these sufferings, you must become enlightened. That means Buddha exactly said enlightenment is the end of all sufferings. But that doesn't mean that you suddenly are without a body and you don't suffer anymore and you're just a ghost or a spirit. No. You're still in a body and you still suffer, but you actually don't suffer. That means you have a distance to the suffering. You are still there and have a normal life and get I don't know what today that people get 90 years or 100 years old. And as an enlightened person, you still can get problems with your healthiness. You still grow older, and you still also die. But what's the difference? The difference is you don't suffer from this. You just experience to be unhealthy, to grow older, and to die. You just experience it. You are aware of it, but you don't actually suffer from it. And the difference why you don't suffer is that you don't consider it anymore and don't let you make yourself sad from your thoughts, from your thoughts about it. You are free then. And that's the point. You have an inner distance that there's your ego. It is still alive. It is not dead when you get enlightened and you are not something like a holy person. You have a distance. Your ego acts at the outside, the world at the front, and your higher consciousness, your main awareness, is more in the higher consciousness. It's a shift from the ego, which is still there, and to the higher consciousness. And from this position, when you are your higher consciousness, you can control your ego better. And this is the same like enlightenment. Enlightenment is higher consciousness. And as I said in the beginning, it is reachable through meditation and through awareness practices, awareness methods. It's pretty easy. You must, first of all, just become the observer. Every time when your ego argues with something, or is sad, or has another negative emotion, or negative thoughts. How many negative thoughts do we have a day? You have so many opportunities to become the observer about your ego. You don't have to meditate extra. You can increase this process through meditation and through awareness exercises extra. But you also can in everyday life try to become the observer of your own ego. And this will let the inner distance grow. So it's not a distance like a distance between you and me, and ego is still inside of you, higher self too. It's like an inner distance. It's just an inner distance between your human consciousness, your ego, and your higher consciousness. And when you act from your higher consciousness and be aware of your ego, you more and more learn to don't suffer in situations of anger or of sadness or of any suffering. And this is what you make enlightened. And when you can keep this mode as often as you can and practice it all of your life, and then you grow older, and then the time comes when you go in death, you won't suffer about it. You won't think about that, oh my God, I'm just going to die and it's so sick and I wanted to do so much things I haven't done, and you don't consider it. You accept it. You learn to accept it. It is a truth with which you will be confronted, which is normal, which belongs to life, and you accept it from a very neutral standpoint without suffering when you are in your higher consciousness. I hope this video could help you to answer maybe a few of your personal questions. If you are interested in more essential things, have a look on my other videos. Have a nice day. See you next time. Bye.